Yeah. All right. Welcome to the Inside Carolina podcast. I am Tommy Ashley. It is Tuesday night. That means it's On the Beat Live. Gregory Hall, Greg Barnes, sponsored by Johnny T-Shirt. All right, boys, it's On the Beat Live. I told everybody we're going to have some special guests. We've got 2 to 3 special guests with us at the moment. And Gregory, I'll let you, since you put it together, I'll let you introduce who we have here in the room with you and Greg and myself. And then we'll get started because I think this is going to be a pretty fun night here on the Beat Live.
So we have Dr. Kendell Rucker, father of outside linebacker and edge rusher Kaimon Rucker, and Mr. Terrell Conley, father of safety, nickelback. I mean, he's all over the field. Jacurious, right? Am I pronouncing that correctly? Jacurious Conley.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And we've got Coach Glover, Deon Glover, father of Tony Grimes, on the way. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun one, fellas. Appreciate you guys joining us.
Let me tell you what I ran past my wife before I got on this podcast. I said, how about this for an opening? Look, check this out. We got 3 halves of the architects of the pillars of Carolina's defense coming on the show. She said, what in the heck are you talking about? I said, we got Tony's daddy, we got Conley's daddy, and we got Rucker's daddy. She was like, oh, that sounds nice. Cool. So I hope the folks in this chat certainly appreciate you guys being here more than she did. Even though she's diehard, she doesn't keep up with the names too much. If I told her 0 and 25 and 20, she didn't know much better. But let me get started. And I'll start with you, Mr. Rucker, or Dr. Rucker, since you were here first, and then Terrell, you can come in on it. Recruiting. Tony Grimes, 5-star, hyped, jacked up hype, inside Carolina all over it. Conley, 4-star, inside Carolina all over it. Kaimon, 3-star, inside Carolina all over it, but, it's a 3-star, you know what I mean, and all that. As a father and as a guy close to watching your son go through the process, sort of describe the process for Kaimon, being recruited, rising up in the rankings, sort of hitting a ceiling maybe in the rankings, and then committing to Carolina.
Okay, yeah. Well, with Kaimon, I can say, whenever he, jumped on the map, from high school, he went to some camps and, he was granted his 3-star. And then, his group of 5 offers started to roll in. He had somewhere around 27 or 28 group of 5. And his first offer came from Georgia Southern, which is home. And, we really appreciated that. But, he continued, to go to camps and he, would, demolish these 4- and 5-star, offensive tackles and things of that nature. And I think that started to get, some attention of some Power 5 universities, Louisville being one, and then North Carolina came in. But as far as the recruitment and the leveling, of the stars, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, when we came to North Carolina and met Coach Mack Brown, he never, regardless of what star you was, when he decided he wanted you to play for the university, Kaimon being a 3-star, we didn't see any difference in how he treated Kaimon versus, 4- or 5-star guys. When we went on recruiting visits, we all sat in a room and I couldn't really tell who was ranked as far as their star ranking. And it's because he and his coaching staff made everyone feel important. So, that had a lot we let Kaimon decide where he wanted to go. And I had to keep my mouth shut because I was just, bursting with excitement on the inside because, I'm a football fan. I played football and everybody knows who Mack Brown is. And, he's a legend. And I'm like, okay, we need to go with him right now. But I had to suppress those feelings and allow Kaimon to choose. And when he chose, I was very happy. But, from a parent standpoint, his mom and I, we were very satisfied. And it's because Coach Mack Brown made Kaimon feel just as important as any other star or 5-star kid that was on the roster. So, I mean, that was the deal for us.
Yeah, that's the gift we talk about Mack Brown has. Mr. Conley, talk about the process for your son, in-state guy. So, we know what North Carolina means to the in-state guys, or most of the in-state guys. How was that process for you guys starting out?
Well, honestly, his process started late because his freshman and sophomore year we lived in Washington State, so he wasn't getting looked at by anyone. So then, so he thought he was more a D2, D3 type player. Then I got military orders to North Carolina, and I say maybe his second game, he got bumped to a 4-star all nowhere. So just the whole process of it was kind of crazy because he never been to a camp, because I really didn't believe in camps really showcase what you can do in the football field. I feel like, the camps are really unfair. If you play cornerback and you go against my receiver who know the plays, who know the route, there's no way you can defend someone like that. Or if you're doing some type of cone drill, like, to me, there's no way you got a 5-yard running lane in between plays. So I just feel like the whole camp thing wasn't really realistic. So once he got the whole 4-star, started going different colleges, realizing that, how good he really is, it was kind of amazing. Then once UNC started getting the picture, talking to all the coaches, Coach Bateman, Coach Brown, it was just the whole sense of, we don't care what store you are, we don't care, what you do. We don't really see you as a 4-star, 5-star, or 3-2. We see you as a football player. Mm-hmm. And we really want you, to be here. So just everyone got treated the same. I didn't see they take a group of guys to a different room. Everyone was together the whole time to do the whole process. So to me, it was just a statement of everyone treated equally.
So when you're going through the recruiting process with this coaching staff, as well as with other teams, how does the conversation about playing time come up? Is it do some people suggest maybe that if you come, you're going to get playing time? How does North Carolina handle that conversation, and what kind of impact does that have on the recruitment?
I think in North Carolina, it was more the best person play. It wasn't, we guarantee you, you're going to play, or you're going to redshirt you. It was more of, you come in, you perform, you get on the field.
And Dr. Rucker, you mentioned Mack Brown kind of being this guy that you knew about. I was able to spend some time with Mack this summer before he was put into the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame. And one of the things he said that he didn't realize the impact when he got back into coaching, but the Hall of Fame, the National College Football Hall of Fame, the impact that had on his ability, not just to step in with coaches and get coaches that he wanted, but also when he walked into recruits' homes, kind of the value that that tag had, the value what his career's brought. How big of an impact was that for him to come in and say, hey, I'm Mack Brown, I've won a national championship at Texas, I've been in this business for a long time. What kind of impact was that for your family?
That was huge. I mean, and that, like I said, that was one of the most attractive things about him, because I knew that he came with a lot of bells and whistles. He came with a lot of accolades, and however, he was very humbled when he came to speak to me about my son. And, I've gone on, numerous recruiting visits, and, I've heard the talk, and, my discernment bell rings sometimes, and I'm like, nah, this is not the fit. I'm not really believing what they say and things of that nature. But when I met Mack Brown, I'm not saying that for everyone, but, you get those conversations. But when I met Mack Brown personally, Coach Mack Brown personally, he was so humble, and he didn't have to be. And that's the thing, usually when someone comes, highly touted as him, sometimes you have big personalities, but he was so humble, And he just made Kaimon, first of all, feel needed. He made him feel wanted. And as a parent, you know, that's where I wanted my son to go. And, you know, I often, you know, I revere him, you know, as like the godfather of football, basically. So, you know, I'm kind of smitten by him because of who he is and knowing who he is and things of that nature. So, but to see him come with all of this, with the humility, the academic part of it, the character part of it, the leadership, you know, that, you know, he could bring. So they looked at the whole picture holistically and to make that choice. And so I knew from the first conversation of speaking with him that, you know, this is where I want my son to go.
Coach Glover, welcome.
How's it going, gentlemen?
What's happening, man? How you doing?
It's good to see everybody up here tonight. I apologize for my tardiness, man. I had a consultation with some recruits.
Okay.
That you are
business comes first.
Yeah, you are excused from the first few minutes of the podcast to handle that business. Let me ask you the same question I asked them before you got here. The recruiting process. Obviously, Tony's recruitment was different. He was highly recruited, one of the highest recruited kids in the nation, but also to jump that senior year is another whole aspect of it. Describe Mack Brown in the process from the starting point that you guys met him through the commitment, through the decision to come on to Carolina. I guess it's been a year now, last August, early. Describe that for us.
Well, Coach Mack Brown is one of a kind. He is the most authentic coach I have ever met in my life. He's elite, you know, and he makes you feel like you are just like him. You know what I'm saying? When he talks to you, he makes you feel like you're important. He's not putting on a show. It's not a front. And that's just the type of person that he is. He makes you feel exactly how he is. He treats you that way. And when we first met, I fell in love with him. Like I'm all man, you know what I'm saying? But you know, I mean, I was like, man, you know, it's something different about him. You know, the Bible says that you shall know them by the fruit that they bear. And our spirits connected. And I saw how he communicated with Tony, you know, and I moved away and watched from afar, and it was just as unbelievable as I've never seen him. We talked to many head coaches, and there are some great ones out there. You know, Coach Franklin's good, Kirby Smart's good. Those guys are really great and authentic, but I've never met anybody like Coach Mack Brown. And it just got better. It just got better and better and better. You know, and one of the parents' greatest fears when they're going through the recruiting process is, will this stop once they get my kid? You know, it's just he's putting his best foot forward. And I talked to Coach Brown just as much now as I've spoken to him when he was during the recruiting process. You know, it's just as real. It's just as beautiful. My wife fell in love. Me and Tony went down the first 2 times by ourselves. Said, we got to take mama back. You know, she went down there, came down there, and she fell in love with him. And, you know, Dre is Dre. But when you have other support staff, other coaches, Dre, Bateman, and these guys are carrying the same authenticity as their head coach, they're bearing the same fruits as their head coach. I mean, it's undeniable, you know, and we wanted Tony to be a part of that. You know, Tony wanted to be a part of that. He came into the realization for himself. Me and my wife kind of already knew. He came into it, and it was just confirmation, man. And it's been and it just been great since we've been there.
Let me ask a question of all three, and I'll start with you, Dr. Rucker. On the last season with all the COVID issues and the difficulties and the bubble and all that stuff, how difficult was it as a parent to sort of leave your kid in Chapel Hill and go through that process, and they're playing football, dealing with all this craziness as of a pandemic and all that. What was that like being a parent? I know what it was like from a fan standpoint and from covering the team standpoint, because I could sit right here and do my job. Right. But as a parent with a child with skin in the game, talk about how that last year was.
It's pretty rough because regardless of Kaimon is this this 6'1", 6'2", somewhere in there, 260 chiseled kid. He's still my baby, and to have him, that was a difficult situation anyway. COVID was, and then to have my son 4 hours away, that was kind of a hard pill to swallow, because, I've been with him every day of his life until he went to UNC, and, I'm his protector, I'm his pop, and, now he's away from me. And, I felt, very uncomfortable for, a short while. But what gave me, solace was Mack Brown, Coach Mack Brown, knowing that he, made me feel comfortable from the beginning, and the connection that he had with my wife and I and Kaimon. I felt, comfortable with Kaimon being, away and being with him because, throughout whole COVID, he kept in constant communication with the family. He would reach out, phone calls, whatever it took in order to, make families feel that we're going to take care of your son. And it was evident in how he took care of it. If you look at it, they had a very, low COVID rate, with kids having that, going out into the community, making sure that they were wearing a mask and staying away from certain things. And, he inspired the kids to, just adopt or buy in to his philosophy of staying safe in this tumultuous type of situation that was going on in our society. And because of his leadership and because of his, what I would say, fatherhood, the team lined up. And so that made me feel very comfortable, in an uncomfortable situation.
Mr. Conley, you feel the same way there? I mean, I know that's, I can't imagine turning mine loose. Mine's a freshman up there now, just a regular student, and it's a little bit difficult even now to think about everything they're exposed to. But is your son's experience pretty similar or the same?
Yes, sir. The difference between us is, he was just 2 hours away. So if we need to go to Chapel Hill, he need to come home. It's not too far. But with him, I think our biggest support was Coach Bateman. Coach Bateman called me for everything. So, hey, Terrell, I need Jay to come get COVID test. I need Jay go, make sure he doing his work. So Coach Bateman kept that whole communication with us open. If Jay need to go get tested, Jay need to get classes. If they doing this, they doing that. So I felt comfortable. We felt comfortable leaving Jay at UNC because the coaches, they gave me all the confirmation that we needed that they're going to take care of him.
That's right.
And then at the same time, he was a roommate with Tony. So, and just the friends there with everyone, they allowed him to be himself and fit in. And the COVID wasn't a big issue because everyone, bought into the whole goal. So
obviously your three sons play on the defensive side of the ball. Mr. Conley, you mentioned Jay Bateman there. I'm just curious how maybe he and Mack differ in the way they recruit, just because Mack's kind of pitching the program, how they're going to fit in, and just more bigger picture things. I'm just curious, does Jay get more into nuts and bolts and how fit into the system, or what's his recruiting like compared to Mack's and all three of you guys' experiences with the defensive coordinator and Tommy Thigpen, since they're kind of working together over there?
Well, I think with Coach Bateman, he's more of this is what I want. I want you to play defense. This is what I see you doing, outside of college. So to me, he was straightforward also. He let me know everything. He's like, hey, if Jay don't pick up his grades, we might start recruiting him. So we need to make sure that we on the same page with everything. So he never allowed me to to think anything different from what he told me. And then we went to the Carolina cookout. Just the whole time, he was there with my family, talking. We were talking. So introduce me to his family. So he brought me into his life, and he brought Jay, even closer. So I was comfortable leaving Jay right there. So to me, I love that he went to UNC.
Coach Glover, what was your experience or relationship like with Jay Bateman, especially considering I'm sure you mentioned the amount of coaches you talked with, just what was different about him and compared to Mac, but also other guys that come in trying to recruit your son and your other players?
Jay is dynamite. He's brilliant. I would love it when he would call and him and Tony would talk ball. He's a brilliant defensive coordinator, opened Tony's eyes up to so much. Coach Brown, it was, like you said, more of, the big picture, the 40-year decision, the letting you know that he'll be that father figure, you know what I'm saying? But also, he's a disciplinarian. Jay Bateman, he brought, I'm a teacher's son, everything he needs to know about defense. And, Tony's he's a high FBI, his FBIQ is off the chart. So it was like a perfect match, you know what I'm saying? And he's a hard-nosed coach. I love that. In fact, Mack Brown is a hard-nosed coach also. You know what I'm saying? The difference between the two, I think, is Coach Bateman will tell the players how he feel, and then he'll get on the players. But Mack Brown, he'll get on the coaches to get on the players. You know what I'm saying? And Dre's different. Dre brought it. That's Big Brother. That's OG Rube. He's teaching skill set. He's perfecting his skill set. He's making sure he's in the film room. They all play different parts, but they're all important, extremely important. And I think that formula, you know what I'm saying, is that total formula no other school had. No other school had that. You might run into a great head coach, but there's no DB coach there, or the DB coach there is suspect. Or you might have a great coach and a good DB coach, but the D coordinator is suspect. I mean, we got all three. You know what I'm saying? We got the best DB coach. We got the best defensive coordinator. And we got the best head coach. It doesn't get any better than that. Plus, we got the best support staff. You know what I'm saying? We got the best media guys following. I mean, it's just crazy. You know what I'm saying? What's going on at Carolina is unreal. We're stomping with the big dogs.
Go ahead, Greg. You got a lighter side one.
Yes. So 5 of the 6 of us here are about the same age, guys. I think it's obvious who the young buck is. Tommy's got a son at Carolina right now, and he's got another one in high school. I've got a son in high school. I do not
have a son in high school, by the way.
Gregory's about 25 years away from having a son in high school. I know how I am with my son now. I can only imagine if my son was playing college football at a Power 5 school, how often I would chime in, how often I would want to speak with him, maybe give him some suggestions, even though I may not be the right person to do that. So I like to go around the group and just ask, starting with you, Dr. Rucker, how often do you talk to your son? And how often do you talk football with him during the course of a season?
We talk often, and there's no way around a football conversation between us two. But, as a coach, as a player, ex-player, former player, and a coach, I do understand that, you don't ever want to put your players or your kids in a situation to where they're confused. So I never tell them anything that's different from, what's being coached to him there. So I would begin by asking questions, how are you doing this? How are you doing that? On certain plays, are you to drop into coverage? And, when you lining up head up, are you reacting, or do they have you rushing? And, do they want you to a shade? What type of pass rush moves? And so I ask him questions like that to see what he says, because, as a football player, I have, a philosophy just as, well as other people. So I don't want to sprinkle my philosophy and let it conflict with what the coaches are, teaching them there. However, so I start off with that, and then once he tells me, I'm going to reinforce what his coaches are saying, just so we can continue to keep football simple. It can be complex, but one of my favorite quotes comes from Albert Einstein, and him of all people said, "In complexity, find simplicity." So I'm about making everything simple. So when we talk and he gives me something, my job as his father and one of his ex-coaches is to try to simplify the process. Make sure you do this, different reads and things, even tackles. When you're going at tackles, there's different strategies on tackling, but nothing changes when it comes to tackling, in my opinion, because your focus should be on the hips anyway, because the hips don't move. Look at something that's stationary. Don't look at the hands. Don't look at the feet. Don't look at the head. Look at the hips when you're making the tackle. Those type of things that are very simple rules in football. And so we talk about those simple rules. And I think if you can take, you're going to be processing that on the run when you're on the field. But if you can take a lot of the guessing out, you're going to take a lot of the confusion out, which you're going to get the best out of your player when they don't have to think so much in the moment. So, we talk a little bit about that, taking something that's very difficult, a concept that's difficult, and finding a simple solution. Because in the game, for an example, when we were in Virginia Tech, it was loud. You can't hear, you can't see sometimes, but you get the call, you line up, and guess what, man? You're a football player. You can figure it out because you may not hear the call. You may not, your linebacker may not get the adjustment, but if you line up in certain situations, if you line up to a shade outside of the tackle, and if it's third down, then you got to put on a pass rush. Right? You didn't hear anything, but you know what you got to do in third down. So it's different things like that. Just taking hard concepts and making them simple so you can be highly effective. That's our conversations.
Yeah, a former North Carolina defensive coordinator talked a lot about paralysis by analysis.
That's right.
And Mack Brown, I thought, said it well last week in preparation for Virginia. He said, we could talk about all the different things they do, but at the end of the day, the ball's going to be snapped.
That's right.
It's either going to be a pass or a run.
Yeah.
And go make a play. Mr. Conley, what's your conversations like with Jacurious?
So we don't really talk about football that much, because I try to let the coaches, be the coaches. I might send him like a motivation video the day before the game, but I try not to get too much into it because when I play football, I play offense. So I can't really teach him any defense stuff. I can only teach him maybe the lineups or the wide receivers. We might know what route they running, but just the whole defense part, I can't teach because I didn't play defense. So I just try to, let, coaches be the coach and just, I just be the dad. If he asks for some type of advice, I try, like last year. Okay, so we were looking at, I tried to help him with the film against Virginia Tech. Just like which lineman which lineman is the best, like different techniques the linemen do. I try to break that stuff down, but that's really it. Like I said, I try to be a dad and be a fan. I don't really try.
Is there something other than football that bonds you two together that y'all can talk about?
Just everything else, just the whole life, life aspect, family and friends and just, the whole maturity level.
Yeah, family, right.
That's right.
Mr. Glover, how about you?
We talk about everything. We talk frequently. We talk every day. And we talk about any and everything. We definitely always talk ball. Sometimes the first time, right after the game, our conversation be ball. And it's been like that because I've been a high school coach. So it's just a part of us. You know what I'm saying? It's something, talking football is something that's ingrained in us. We talk about plans for the future. We still run practical jokes on us, just the father and son relationship. You know what I'm saying? We talk about, oh, Pop, don't forget to pay my cell phone bill. You know, yeah, or I'm treating your mama to dinner tonight. You know what I'm saying? Check your Cash App. It's just, we talk about so many different things. You know, it's just who we are. You know, as father and son. But we definitely talk ball. That's something, because I talk to Dre all the time. I talk to Coach Dre all the time. So, you know, and me and him, it's like we be on the same page. You know, he's a DB guy, I'm a DB guy. So that's why the match was so good, because, you know, me as a dad was trying to figure out what type of techniques, what kind of skill set. You know, I know he was a great player, but can he coach my son? You know what I'm saying? And when we started talking, everything just was flowing between us. So I was like, oh man, he's a perfect match. So I know he's going to teach my son the right stuff. You know what I'm saying? He's going to teach him all the tricks of the trade. And then me and Dre even talked after the game. We talked today about, you know, what I thought, you know, good and bad about Tony's performance this weekend, you know, and we literally was on the same page, you know. So I mean, we have a lot of different conversations, you know, and it's just father and son stuff.
Let me follow there, and I'll start with you, Mr. Glover, again. How tough is it just to be a dad sometimes and watch in the stands? How hard is that, especially when you see what's going on against Virginia? Brennan Armstrong's throwing for 500 yards. You see things maybe the normal fan doesn't see. I mean, how tough is it to be a dad watching your son play for North Carolina?
It's not tough. Sometimes you get into a protective mode. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, while we watching the game, I'm very active on social media. So, you know, sometimes
you don't say.
Sometimes Virginia fans, you know, they say slick stuff like, oh, he should have stayed at Virginia. You know, he gave up a touchdown 11 seconds before the half. You know what I'm saying? And you know, it gets underneath your skin. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times people don't understand that, you know, that number one, defensive back is a very hard position to play. I think it's one of the hardest on the field. You know, you got to read and react to everything. The receivers know where they're going. The quarterback know where the ball is going. The DBs don't know. So they got to read and react to everything. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you want to protect, and you want to kind of stand up for your son, but you got to keep you cool and you know, and just be a fan that day. Just kind of support them, you know, and talk about the rest later. You know, like my conversation with Tony was, hey, you know, it's 11 seconds, man. You know, your job is to stop them from going in the end zone. You know, he fell for the double move. He should have kept his leverage, and he would have been cool. You know, but he came out second half, had a stellar performance in the second half, and I thought it was cool. You know, but it can kind of bounce around a little bit there. You know, my hats. You know, the father hat, the fan hat. You know, the coach hat. You know, I'm juggling them things, man, in the stands.
I can imagine Terrell watching Jay play and seeing him get injured and things like that, making a great interception. I mean, how is it like just being a dad? You mentioned it earlier that's what you just try to do is be the dad, but it's got to be tough sometimes.
That part is tough because I'm not really an emotional person. So like, I mean, first interception against Virginia Tech, like I want, you know, for me, I want to smile, but I couldn't, you know. I want to show my emotion. I want to holler, but I couldn't. But at the same time, people, you know, fans come to me, you know, taking my hand, giving hugs. Yeah, Jay this, Sub-Zero. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, to me, it's kind of like, it was hard to break out that shell. But then when he got hurt against Georgia State, the dad came out like, you know, well, you know, can I go to the field? Can I go talk to him? You know, the coaches, the American staff. Hey, I was trying to, you know, the American staff text me, you know, hey, this is what happened. I'm texting back, you know, is he okay? Or, you know, he can't go back in, you know, hey, make sure that. But like I say, you know, I try to just be a fan of the sport, but at the same time, it's still kind of hard, you know, when your son, you know, when your child is playing, it's like my whole focus is only on him. So I don't even see the play most of the time. Okay, like what what Jay doing? Or Jay missed his tackle. Jay made this tackle. So it's like, one moment I'm just all hyped, then next moment like, okay, get back down, relax, watch the game, and just be a fan. So
you know what's funny? When JQ, when he got the interception, we was yelling, Terrell. He just was as cool. He was sitting there. No, let's go. He was just as cool.
Yeah, I'm saying, man, like, cause it's hard for me to show my emotions like that, cause it's just hard.
That's funny. Well, the play against Virginia too was a ridiculous one.
He had a
Dr.
club
Rucker.
on. I mean, he's making that catch with one hand.
Dr. Rucker, you seem like the calm, cool one of the bunch.
Oh no,
I'm not. Actually, I was going to speak to that, and so Deon, hush over there, buddy. I sat next to Coach Glover the other night, man, and boy, we had a good time. That
yes, we did.
To say the least, we had a good time. But I got like this thing now, man. I'm kind of this. I try to have this introspect where I look at myself and see how I grow. But I'm kind of caught between a couple of personalities, and I'm transitioning. So I have this coach side, and then I have this father side, and they're at war a lot of times while I'm sitting there. That's what makes it tough. I'm being, like, man, you shouldn't have done this. God almighty, what are you doing? And then on the other side, I'm like, yay, Kaimon, man, you did a great job. So, but I will say I'm transitioning. I think I'm closer to being that fan versus, being that coach. And one thing that I teach Kaimon a lot is, stay in the moment, stay in the moment of football. Don't worry about what happened, what's going to happen. Stay in the moment of the play. And so with that advice I give him, I have to give it to myself. As a father, I got to stay in that moment and not spoil that moment worrying about X's and O's, what is he doing, right or wrong, but just being that encouraging, supporting him and yelling. So that's what Deon is laughing about, actually. Because when he made a great play, I wasn't coach, I wasn't analytical, I jumped up and I was grabbing my shirt, my hat flying off, fist pumping loud, and, I had a great time. And then I've discovered that you have a lot more fun being a fan than being a coach in the stand. So, I'm going with that feeling right there. So I think I'm more of a fan now. So, and I think I like that a whole lot better than being a coach in the stand.
Let me, Greg's got a great one coming up, but let me just restate what you just said, and this will help a lot of fans in the stand. It is a lot more fun being a fan in the stands than a coach in the stand.
That rhymes, man.
Yeah. No fans, all fans, no coaches.
We should pin that on the message board.
More fun being a fan in the stand. Put it on a T-shirt.
Go ahead, Greg.
So I'm not going to put anybody on the spot. So whoever wants to take this, have at it. But the conversation in college football for the last, 40 years, it seems like, has been about name, image, and likeness. And coaches have these exorbitant salaries. These schools are building cathedrals, and yet the players are playing just for scholarship money. And I know over the last couple of years, you've gotten cost of attendance, and you've seen some improvement in that regard. But finally, this offseason, we have a breakthrough, and student athletes are finally able to take advantage of their name, image, and likeness. Just curious as to your overall thoughts, how that benefits your sons potentially, and if that's a good thing for the sport moving forward.
I think it's a great thing for the sport. And I'm just going to give you the first time I heard this story, back in the day when Michigan had the Fab Five, and I just remember a story with Chris Webber. He said, he was walking in Michigan one day, and he didn't have two nickels to rub together, and he was walking down the sidewalk, and he happened to pass the strip mall of this store, and he was hungry, and he just happened to look in the window, and his jersey was the number one jersey being sold. And there was other, brand companies out there making a lot of money off his name, image, and likeness, but he couldn't even buy anything to eat. And he was this, top, elite college basketball player at the time. And, you know, and even then, you know, I felt like it was unfair, you know, that, you know, and it was, in my opinion, I'm not going to say unethical, but it's kind of treading on that because everybody else has the opportunity to make money except for athletes. And that wasn't right. So, you know, I'm in support of that, you know, being an ex-college football player myself, not having money and calling home and getting it and things of that nature. So, you know, in my opinion, I'm like, you know, I'm glad it's here. It's taken long enough, you know, but I think it's a positive thing for, you know, the athletes to, you know, partake in that because they are building a brand, you know, and they are the brand. It's certain kid. I remember this movie Program back in the day, and this coach said, no,
FSU, baby.
And it's the program, and it's no negative, I guess, point at academics because academics is everything. But he said that coach in that movie said no one comes and fill up stadiums to watch a science project. They're coming to watch football. They're coming to watch these athletes. So these athletes are what put fans in the seats. So that's my point to NIL. If they're putting fans in the seats and they are making money, they're entitled to make money from that, you know, from their own name, image, and likeness. So, you know, I'm all for it, you know, and I think it's benefiting. And I know with my son, you know, he started and he's been in position. And when it came out, we were able to take advantage of it. And, you know, we're not in it for just trying to get rich or anything. But I mean, you know, it's his image that he's making and he should be compensated for it, just like any other student athlete that's out there. So I happen to agree. A lot of people try to dodge this conversation and don't want to talk about it, but I'm not, you know, I'm not ashamed. I will talk to anybody about it. You have people with strong opinions, you know, for or against it, but I am totally for it and I'm glad it's here.
Mr. Conley,
you know,
there you go.
I'm sorry, you know, I agree also because you know, life after college is not guaranteed. You know, football is not guaranteed after college. So you got the opportunity now to make money off of your image. Why not? Because the prime example is look at P. Ward. After he left Florida State, on like a couple years in the pros. But imagine if it got started when he was in college.
Yeah.
You know, it would have been crazy. You know, crazy opportunity he would have. And even though it took so long to happen, you know, I'm happy that it finally, you know, did happen. You know, it happened now, so kids can, you know, get paid off of their name because college don't get paid no matter what. You know, they gonna put money to different programs and, you know, different buildings. They gonna hire a new coach who can up and leave the next day. So it's like, why not, you know, pay the athletes also who making the coach look good? You know, so if the athletes if the team's sorry, you can't pay the coach. So if your athlete's doing enough for the head coaches, I feel like they should get paid also.
Yep, definitely. Glover, I know that you've got some strong opinions on this. I wanted to ask you those opinions, but also let's talk about the shirts and the logos and how they all came about. And I'd like to get it from all of you guys. Go ahead, Mr. Glover.
Well, I'm what did it for me is, I mean, when you sit back and you watch students at any university all over the country, they can get a job, they can go and get a degree, they can become a veterinarian. While they were in school, they can start a dog walking business or they can start any business they want and make money. Right. But when it came to the athletes couldn't make anything. NCAA would punish them, you know, shut them down. They couldn't start YouTube channels. They couldn't get jobs and make, you know, and support themselves. I mean, it's expensive to be in college. Even with cost of attendance, Tony lives off campus. I mean, you know, you're talking $1,500 rent. You know what I'm saying? Where he lives at. We're talking automotive bills. We're talking food. And I mean, it's just not enough. So if you don't have parents that, you know, that have done, you know, well for themselves to help offset that cost, the college students are going to suffer. You know what I'm saying? And in Jameis Winston case, you know, he went and stole some food, you know, and everybody ridiculed him. But I mean, I get it. You're stealing steak or shrimp or whatever it is. You could have stole some bologna, but
crab legs. Even though I'm not sure he stole them.
Yeah. Whoever stole the food. I mean, a college athlete, a superstar college athlete, has no business stealing food, even getting to that point. You know, so I'm all for it. You know. And, you know, when we got wind that it was going to come, you know, I've been, you know, kind of had my ears, you know, to the ground on it. And we had a plan. We had devised a plan. I told Tony, we're going to incorporate as soon as it becomes legal. We're going to incorporate, you know, we're going to incorporate TG20. I reached out to some logo design companies and we got the TG20 shirt with his silhouette in the middle of it. And, you know, when they came through with it, we started approaching some businesses, you know. Tony didn't have time to do it himself. I mean, he's worried about football and academics. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he don't know about the taxes. And there's some things that he just don't know, you know. And I thought it was a can of worms at first because I said, man, a lot of athletes are going to be taken because there's going to be a whole lot of predators out there getting athletes to sign into marketing deals and they're not going to fully read the contracts or have time to send them to lawyers and so the attorneys can go over them and they're going to get trapped and sucked into stuff and it's going to be bad, you know? So I kind of started speaking out against it, you know? And, you know, we ourselves, it took a long time for us to sign, you know? I mean, there was a lot of bad deals that came our way, you know, and I had to turn them down, you know, because I don't want to weaken his brand. Me and his mom, you know, we're very, very diligent with it. You know, we're going to handpick some of the deals. You know, we presented to Tony and tell Tony what's going on with it. And then, you know, we have attorneys look over the paperwork and then we go from there. But I think every athlete should get paid. And it's not just about Tony. If I could find a deal for Ruck, if I could find a deal for Conley, if whatever I can do to make sure these guys are eating just like my son's eating, you know what I'm saying? And I'm sure they'll do the same, vice versa. That's what we're going to do. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to be honest with you. We're trying to make as much money as we can. We ain't trying to get rich, but we're trying to make some money. Now is the time to make money. Why not maximize that time? You know what I'm saying? We going for the bag, baby.
There ain't nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Conley.
This is the funny part about it, though. Look, all these schools usually, I mean, everybody knows what the schools are doing, these elite programs. You know, they've been doing it for years, you know, and now you can do it legally. You know what I'm saying? You can actually give a kid $300,000, $500,000 on top of the table in front of everybody for the world to see and say, well, I'm just going to get you to endorse a couple of Wendy's or a couple of Jersey Mikes for me. You know what I'm saying? You got kids walking in the programs right now with $1 million deals and they never even touched the field. It's legal now. So why not do it? Why not capitalize on it?
Take advantage of it.
100% agree from the player standpoint. I don't know where it ends or how they rein it in or what they do. I don't think the NCAA ever thought about that side of it, but I 100% agree.
You think the NCAA thinks about anything?
Yeah, really. We can talk about that.
But why do they need to rein it in? That's the thing. They don't.
I don't know. Well, that's a deeper question. I mean, because Alabama, Carolina, schools like that. I mean, how much is Wake Forest going to pay somebody? You know what I mean?
But why do they need to even the playing field?
I don't know.
Isn't that just capitalism?
Yeah.
I don't think that they need to even the playing field. You guys can see what's going on right now. Yeah. I mean, over 13,000 people in the transfer portal. I think that football is you know, even without the bags being thrown around, you know, football is becoming competitive now. You see a lot of G5 programs moving up in the ranks, and that's because of the portal.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe they don't just pay everybody. Look, if I was in those shoes, I'd be trying to get paid every second. Conley, what about I have to give you credit now. I kind of dig the Sub-Zero nickname because I'm thinking it reminds me of Mortal Kombat back in the day.
Right.
But tell us about Jacarius's journey there.
Well, I think the whole And then, with him, he'll try to take everything slow. We focus on, let it slow. It happens. It gonna happen. We're not really pushing anything right now, but we do got something in the works. But just like I said, they're trying to take everything slow, because it's all new. Like Coach Glover said, we don't want to make the wrong deal, and then he be stuck with a contract where, it's gonna mess up his image. So we just try to find the right one for him that will actually get him help his image out even more. And with the whole sub-zero thing was, he initially wanted number 6. So number 6 was taken by somebody else. So it was options was number 0 or another off number. So at first they called him Asian 0. He didn't too much care for it. Then he realized, Mortal Kombat, he loved playing Mortal Kombat when he was younger. And UNC colors all blue. So it's just everything just fit in, together. The whole Sub-Zero, UNC colors, it just stuck. So if Mortal Kombat wants to make that deal.
There you go. There you go.
Where's my Mortal Kombat link?
Yeah, really. I will say this.
Problem.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Is that Capcom? I used to know someone that worked for Capcom. I probably was playing that Mortal Kombat game before y'all's boys were even born, which is, well, I know I was actually. Whew.
I mean, you were born in like 1933.
Dr. Rucker, the butcher. Tell us about it.
Yeah, man. Because he was a 3-star, he wasn't highly touted coming out of high school. So we had to take a different approach. It was, he didn't come to where, when he showed up, people was already, raving about him and things of that nature. So, like Terrell said, we had to kind of take it slow, but, we knew that this was coming. And like Coach Glover said, we wanted Kaimon to concentrate on being an athlete, student athlete, making sure he takes care of that, responsibility and not have to worry about adulting yet, So, we've created a team, his mother and me and him and we all conversate and communicate, on a constant basis about, certain changes, but our approach had to be positioning. We knew that he was going to do something, but we allowed it to happen, I would say authentically, if you will, where the butcher came about. So we were about positioning and then conquering, because him being a 3-star, the butcher actually comes from his story. And it's 2 stories how it works, because all of this goes back to high school. He was a kid that, like he was slightly short, as far as playing defensive end when he went to camps and things. And the reason we went to camps is we're from a rural area, and a lot of times you don't get that exposure. And so, I know, okay, well, if you want to be seen, you got to go where the dogs are and you got to beat them, because people are going to be there. So where we live, we're halfway from Atlanta and we're halfway from Charlotte. So let's go to some camps out there. Let's, get invited to some Nike camps. Let's go to some MVP camps. People are going to be watching. And when you get there, you conquer, you dominate, and then you're going to get calls. And, for us, going to those exposure camps were helpful because of the area that we live in. But, how it came about is, we love the Lord first and foremost. And so Kaimon, when he grew up, he was drawn by the story of David and Goliath. He just loved that story. Didn't know that it was going to play into his own life. And as you look at David, he's undersized. He was out in the pasture with the sheep, and all of his brothers and all these leaders, they were fighting Goliath because they looked the part. They had the size, they had the experience, and they had the reputation in order to take care of it. But when he came about, nobody took him seriously. But see, he had the heart, and because of his heart and his relationship with God, he was able to conquer the giant because he had this confidence, not in himself, but he had confidence in God that, he can defeat Goliath. So taking that story and bringing it to Kaimon, when Kaimon went to these camps, yes, he was undersized. And when he actually played football, he went against some bigger guys and he would slice them up. I'm not ashamed to say The kid, you can see how he plays. He plays with a lot of passion. He plays with a lot of aggression. And that's because of that's who he is. He was born with that, and he uses that, and he would just overcome. And when he overcame, he was still told, "You're too short. You may not get there." He went to a Clemson camp. Now, this is pretty cool. He went to Clemson camp and demolished every 5-star that got in his face. Demolished him. So
you won't drop any names, will you?
I'm not going to give any names, but I will drop
off air.
I know they probably tune in, but I got some connections. But I was told, if he was 6'4", they would offer him today. I said I kind of figured that, but they want to see how he grows in the next year or two. Okay, he's probably not going to grow, so that's fine. So they never offered him, but that's just Clemson, and he did that at other schools and things of that nature. But he was always told he was too short, and so he's always having to prove himself, overcome his giants. So that became, his whole mantra is, slaying his giants. And so that's not just opponents, but just overcoming people not thinking that he's able to do it. He's too this and he's too that. He's not ready. So he's always been accustomed to doing that. So fast forward, to North Carolina. He was in a game. I don't know if it was Boston or Syracuse or something like that. And this whole Butcher thing came out by ABC commentator saying that, they talked to one of the coaches, and the coaches said he was like a rolling ball of butcher knives on national television. I was like, okay, here we go. All right. So I talked to a good friend of mine, and we were just talking and everything. And my friend said, I guess, and he was saying it jokingly, I guess we'll just call him the Butcher. And I said, I'm okay. I started laughing. He said, man, I'm just playing. I said, well, I'm not. Okay. And so, we talked to Kaimon about it, and Kaimon said, yeah, I kind of like that and everything. But the whole Butcher thing connected with the David and Goliath story, because what did he do? He cut Goliath's head off with a sword. Okay. So he sliced it off. And that's how he overcame, that opposition. So now we take that whole concept with us on the field. Whatever opposition that we face, we're going to conquer it. Whatever opposition that we face in life, we're going to conquer it. So it's not just a football mentality, it's a life mentality. So we wanted his brand to represent who he was. And so we looked at the name, image, and likeness. So that's why we got the silhouette of him, because we didn't want to fabricate an image. You are the image, Kaimon. You're the guy, nothing else. So we're not going to go out and get an animal. There's nothing wrong with that, but we're not going to go get out and try to create something. God made you in his image. So that's what we're going to use. We're going to use your image. And so that's why he's sitting there. And so that's where the Butcher comes from. So we're positioning ourselves right now, because when he does, he's going to be this kid. I'm his champion. And I know what he's going to do, because he's done it his whole life. Given an opportunity, he's going to win. And that's just how he is. And now, he's starting to show, despite how tall or how short or how whatever he is, he's a ball player, and he's going to show the world that. So we just had to get ourselves in a position. And then once and Mack Brown said this image and this likeness and all of this, he said, all of this are not going to do anything if you can't back it up on the field. So you can be spinning your wheels with that. So at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So, and I think that, the coaches continue to give him opportunity to get plays and to play. He's going to continue to show people, that he is a ball player despite his size.
Man, that's
great. That was very long, but I'm sorry. I just had to give it.
No, I could sit in the pew and listen to you all day. That was a fascinating listen. I appreciate you sharing it. I hope a lot of people listened intently to it. I want to ask.
Speaking of people listening, we got someone constantly in the chat just yelling, "Preach, Big Ruck, preach."
Let me ask. I'm gonna let Gregory and Greg close the show with some relevant stuff, but I want to ask you guys one last question. To ask about how tough it was to be a dad of a college athlete. Mr. Glover, I'll start with you. What's it like being the dad of a college athlete in this social media world? Because we know, and look, it happens every day. It's happening in our YouTube chat where people are posting questions under somebody else's name or saying things under somebody else's name or behind a keyboard. What's it like dealing with that from a father standpoint?
Wow. Being that I'm on social media all the time, it's hard. It's very hard because it actually pushes buttons in you that I mean you would normally not have to deal with, through the course of a day, like Dr. Rucker was saying earlier, that's still my boy. That's my boy. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like at that point he's defenseless. He can't defend himself. So I'm a defender. I'm a be the defender. I'm his protector. I'm a protector. And then, but I gotta be careful because although I'm his dad, I do a lot of recruiting, for a lot of athletes around the country. And, a lot of prominent people follow me. I don't want to embarrass my family, myself, my son, and I don't want to embarrass the program. And I certainly don't want to bring a reproach on God. You know what I'm saying? So I got to restrain myself most of the time. And sometimes you'll see things slip out, not too bad, but it's hard. People can be brutal. Fans can be brutal of athletes. You know what I'm saying? And they need to be reminded that these guys are 17, 18, 19 years old. I mean, come on. NFL players get millions of dollars. They make, you know what I'm saying? Things just don't work out. They're still learning the game. They're still getting better. And you see NFL players make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing. But when you see college kids make mistakes, you gotta be flexible and lenient and understanding. You know what I'm saying? And people can't separate. Oh, he's supposed to be a star. He shouldn't be doing that. I see people turn on Sam Howell so fast, and I can't believe it. You know what I'm saying? When he's on, he throws an interception and he spaz out. I mean, when you have that type of mindset for someone else, I can only imagine what your life is itself. You know what I'm saying? So it drives me crazy, but I try to be cool about it.
Mr. Conley, you're very active on the Inside Carolina boards. Obviously, people love your presence on there, but just what's your interaction on there and just reading some positive but also a lot of negative things that are said about the team and just your son and just players in general?
Well, just how I look at it as most of the guys on there probably never played sports. Most of them probably, 25 younger. I'm 40, so it's like, what do I look like fussing, going back and forth with someone who half my age, and probably someone who never played the sport. So it's like, but I do read every comment, just see what they say, just poke the bear. Hey, I'm here to make sure I say nothing too crazy. You know what I mean? Just that's what I do. I try to let them know, hey, I'm here. So they won't say nothing out the way. But then at the same time, try to be a fan. I can tell my son, hey, you messed up, you did X, Y, Z. Maybe that's how you need to do this instead. So I don't want a fan to feel like they have all the power, to say this about my son. No, that's not the case. Because same thing you telling him, I can tell him. I'm not gonna say how you say it. He's not gonna listen to you, he's gonna listen to me. So I did try to stay level-headed on inside Carolina, just so, like I said, I get my advice. I see what I see. I can explain. Maybe Coach David he played this defense because of this, or maybe the defense line not getting enough push because of this, or so I try to stay even kill, and not allow anyone to dictate, how I feel about just a conversation where they writing, because fans are fans. Fans gonna say, fans are 1 minute, yeah, we winning. The next minute, oh, y'all suck. Then back to you winning. So you can't please fans. no matter how you look at it. And it doesn't matter how a fan feel. It doesn't dictate what happened on the field. So that's how I look at it. You can say, Coach Longo, he needs to do this plays, but it really doesn't matter. What we say. He gonna call his own plays. He gonna do what he want to do. During the first half and second half. So I just try to let the fans be the fans, because you can't please someone, and you can't try pleasing the one. So sometimes to me it's funny. I'm like, okay. So they're like, if I was playing, I would do this. Probably not, but okay.
Yeah, I don't think you're making that interception like he did against Virginia Tech. I don't know
Right,
about that one.
Yeah.
I mean, he was on his back. Like, that play was impressive.
So,
Dr. Rucker, there you go. I was just ask what your take was.
I was going to add to Mr. Conley. He introduced me to the message board, and he got on, and I'm like, okay, I'll jump in and everything. It's my first rodeo. Let me see what's going on. But then, I became a little bit of, like Deon over there, man. I see some of the stuff, and then I was like, look, I get protective. And then, my wife, she's my she calms me. I'll put it that way. No, you can't do that. You can't say that. And then I'm like, okay. And then I said, I think it's best for me to kind of fall back, Conley, just a little bit until I kind of get used to the thing, because, I think I might, throw something out there that shouldn't be out there and things of that nature. So I know myself, so I kind of falling back, and I just stay on Twitter, and, I post things every once in a while, but, I might come back to it, Conley. So I didn't abandon you or anything. So I'm with you, my brother, but not right now. You know how the old saints say, I got to get my life right. I have to kind of get myself together before I jump back in. But social media, not just for me, but for Kaimon, I am glad that, he's on social media, but he told me he tries to stay off of it a lot, because I think he's a little bit like me, what people, we're not being honest when we say words don't hurt. That's one of the biggest lies I've ever heard. That little saying, sticks and stones may break your bones, but names will never hurt you. That's a lie. That type of stuff, it gets in. It kind of creeps in, and when it gets in, it kind of festers. So, when you know that certain things, affect you in a negative way, you just have to make that decision to kind of stay away from it. And, that's one of the things that I talked to him about, and he talked to me about it too. He's like, I just kind of stay away, because I don't want to hear anybody say anything negative about me, because it upsets me. So, and I told him that was a very mature thing to do, is to stay away from certain platforms. And so he likes Instagram and things of that nature. So, and I'm happy that he's doing that, but it is very hard, because, back when we came up, and Gregory, I'm not going to tease you like your buddies, but, back when we, the older guys, when we came up, we just didn't have these distractions like this. It was more social with each other, but not on social media. And you had to go out there to get involved with certain things. You had to make an effort. Social media, you can sit in your house and practically do and say anything that your heart and your mind desires. And so with all of this, negative information that's steadily coming in, we have to be very careful what we let in our ears and our hearts and everything. So, as a father, that's concerning to me. I know what my son says, but I know certain things kind of fly by it, and he may entertain that. So that's a part of our conversation is, be very leery of what you let in your ears, because what you let in your ears can get in your heart and it can change you. So if you know yourself, stay away from it.
Did you guys have to talk smack via carrier pigeon back then? Was that
no back in the day? If you were going to talk smack to somebody, you had to do it to the face.
You had to meet them somewhere. You know.
If you yelled "you suck," you couldn't do it from a keyboard. You had to do it where they could hear you. And then
or you could get the emergency bag phone out of the trunk. That was 3 minutes or $3 per minute to make a phone call. All right. Well, we've kept you guys.
One of the bunch.
Yeah, we've kept you guys for a long time, but I'd be remiss if we let you out of here without asking a football question. So I'm gonna give you my take on the defense at this point in time, and then I'm gonna let you guys have the floor, and you can tell me how wrong I am if you so choose. I'm really of the opinion that we knew this was going to be a building process for this defense, dating back several years when Mack Brown came in. And I think if you look at the construction of this defense, a lot of the strong talent is in the underclassmen years. Each of your sons are in those underclassmen groups. And I think as that young talent starts to develop, gets more playing time, understand what it takes at this level, you will see the quality of this defense take significant steps forward. I'm not sure the defense is quite there yet. And so what happened on Saturday night is going to happen, where Jay Bateman admitted Monday, we couldn't stop anything last year. So we wanted to at least stop something this year. And he had the scheme in place and had the players in place to at least take away the run. And North Carolina was able to win by 20, even though Brennan Armstrong threw for the most yards ever against North Carolina. So I think this defense will continue to get better as the year goes along, because a lot of those younger guys will really start to step up. I think part of the issue Saturday night was Kaimon Fox, Kaimon Rucker, really the primary guys able to generate a pass rush. And without a pass rush, it kind of looked bad on the secondary with Conley back there and Grimes and Michael and those guys. And so as those things are addressed and those guys get more playing time, the defense will get better. And hopefully by the end of the year, the defense has made significant strides. And when you pair that with Sam Howell in that offense, now we're talking. That's my take on the defense. I want to get your take on the defense. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm an idiot. I'm used to it on the message boards. But Coach Glover, we'll start with you.
Well, I think one thing to remember is this. This is the same defense last year that played in the Orange Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Same exact defense. You know what I'm saying? We might have a couple of pieces moved around, but this is the same exact defense that played extremely well against a team that should have been in the college football playoffs, and was in the game all the way up until 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, I think it was.
Yep.
Could have won the game. So I think that, from year to year, schemes are going to change. They're getting better every day. They're learning different techniques. They're getting better. I think in the next game or two, I think the team is going to start playing stellar defense. Jay Bateman, last week against Georgia State, when they came out the second half, his second half adjustments are off the charts. What did they give up last week? 68 yards, or it was against Virginia Tech. It was 68 yards and field goal against Virginia Tech in the second half. Against Virginia, what was it in the second half? A touchdown and
11 points. Yeah.
Yeah. Come on. So the adjustments are there. I just think that it's some immaturity. The guys are young, but it's the same defense that was on the field last year in the Orange Bowl. I think that they're going to gel. It's a matter of time. Give them 1-2 more games, and I think that the whole team is going to be clicking. You know what I'm saying? We had a rough season. We was out the gate against Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, and you got to remember, most of these kids never even played in front of a crowded stadium before. You know what I'm saying? And Blacksburg was the loudest I've ever heard it. I've been there 6 times, and my ears was ringing. So most of those guys never even seen that type of environment. You know what I'm saying? Due to COVID. So, and it was a shocker. So, I think we're just going to get better. You know what I'm saying? I think the guys are going to get better. They're going to gel. We got high level coaching. I think we got great players. We got great depth. I think they're going to get better. You know what I'm saying? Brendan, you got to give him his props. He is official. He's a great quarterback. He made some great official, like he really is. He made some great throws. We missed a few sacks here and there, but the guy made plays. You know what I'm saying? They had great receivers. And, it's a good team. It was a good team. But that tells us where we're at. I think that we're better than what a lot of people think we are. We're a whole lot better.
Mr. Conley.
I think he stepped away. If Dr. Rucker, you want to.
All right, Dr. Rucker.
Yeah. I can chime in. I'm just going to kind of go back and just get a little bit of one of the questions that you asked a little earlier about. You was talking about how Mack Brown, we talked about how he's like the father and how he looks at the big picture, and then you asked the question about Bateman. So I'm going to make this more about Bateman. He is a guy that zooms in, and he's very methodological in his approach, on how he does things. He's like, I would say a chess player. He knows what pieces he needs in order to be effective and to win. And see now, with the youth, this 2020 group is it's actually their first recruiting class that came through. And so they have those pieces, and now they got 2021 and they got their pieces. And man, these pieces has come together this year. You have the guys that played in the Orange Bowl. Now you have guys that are coming up that are 4 or 5 star guys, and not just because they're ranked, but because these guys are dogs that has come up and they're being put in the game. And you're seeing this chemistry starting to happen. And you're seeing this defense and this mind that Bateman has. You're seeing it start to come together, and it's going to be something to watch. And I don't think it's going to be later than it is sooner. I think a lot of people look and say, "Oh, they're going to be really good next year."
No, it's
now, and it's happening right now. Actually, it happened last year. I don't know if you guys paid attention. I would say Mr. Conley and Mr. Glover, we kind of been on this whole tip of a youth movement anyway. We talked about that last year. I don't know who started it. I don't want nobody wants any credit. I just knew it went, and it was like, dang, that's a great idea. I know I didn't start it, but when it came out, I'm like, yes. And we saw it last year, and it's starting to happen. We saw it early, and it's starting to happen. And not just with our sons in the 2020, now you see 2021 coming, and these guys, they're ready to play. And I think that chemistry has started to connect, and we are in for a ride. We looking at Virginia Tech as if, oh man, we shouldn't have done a black eye. I think that's the best thing that ever could have happened to us this year.
That's right.
And it forced you. A hurricane comes not to destroy; it comes to cleanse a lot of times and to push you into your destination as well. So I just look at that fact of I think we're ready. I think we are, and I think we're going to get a whole lot better, a lot sooner than what people think.
Sooner than later.
Mr. Conley.
Yes, sir. So for me, you look at, I think about 7, 8 guys are sophomores or redshirt sophomores. So the defense are very young. So, and plus, most of the boys gonna have 1 year, in the weight room. So just get the team time. Stop trying to think. This is an A5 errors. Those are grown men that had years together. This is this group actually first year together. So give it some time. Nothing gonna happen overnight. I believe in Coach Bateman and his defense. And to me, I feel like just the potential that this defense have, it gonna come. Give it a game or two. It's gonna be here very soon.
That's right.
This weekend here against Georgia Tech, we might take that step. We might not, but you can't force it. If you support Carolina football, support it. This defense is gonna step up. I promise you that.
Yeah.
Because we got players on all 3 levels, and I'm telling you, this defense is nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and as everybody in this room knows, and everybody listening knows, there's more coming. More coming.
More coming.
So they are building something special on the defensive side. Gentlemen, I want to thank you each Dr. Rucker, Mr. Conley, Mr. Glover for joining us. It's been a blast. Gregory Hall for lining it up, and Greg Barnes for just being Greg Barnes. I mean, that dude's the man. But this has been a fun podcast. I know we've taken about an hour and a half out of y'all's night, but I do appreciate it. I know our listeners appreciate it. Maybe we'll get back again one day, do it again, and get an update.
Dial us in, man. We're ready.
And
Yes, sir.
yeah, I'm going to get some name, image, and likeness on Dr. Rucker and on his podcast, and we're going to start, making people pay to listen to you talk now.
Well, let's do it. My wife said my wife claims I can talk, so I never said that, but she does.
Well, she's right. But it's been fun, folks. You've been listening to the InsideCarolina.com podcast, On the Beat Live. Dr. Rucker, Mr. Conley, Mr. Glover. They've got 3 sons that you might recognize on Saturday night in Atlanta against Georgia Tech. Gentlemen, appreciate it. Johnny T-shirt, thanks for sponsoring us. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right.
Take care, fellas.